Microphone check 1 2 1 2. What's up? It's your boy DJ Mad Scientist. And yes, we are here for another week of the Midday Madness show. Hot takes hour. What we talking about? What we talking about? Yes, indeed. I'm here with you once again. And I want to thank everybody who is here with me right now. Got a lot of good things to talk about. A lot of good things to discuss. Um, Today I'm going to do something a little different. Okay. I actually have a theme. Yep, I have a theme. I'm not saying I'm going to do it every week. I'm not going to say I'm doing it every week because um, I don't know if I'm going to do it every week. I may end up doing it every week, and then you'll say, I thought you, mad scientist, I thought you wasn't going to do this every week. And I'll be like, well, you know what? I did say that at first, but guess what? I've changed my mind because I reserved the right to do that. But for today, I do have a theme. What is my theme, you may ask? All right, well, let me tell you. It's called Strange Things for a Piece of Change. That's what we're doing today. Strange Things for a Piece of Change. I'm going to say this. When you're doing this kind of content creation, a lot of times, most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, it is very extremely difficult to keep people's attention for the required amount of time that it takes in order for Google or YouTube to decide that you are worth having around. That's the hardest thing. Meaning you gotta get people's attention for the first 30 seconds of anything that you're doing. If you can't keep people's attention for that period of time, then YouTube pretty much says, you're boring. You have no ability to keep attention. And that could take a long time to develop. It could take a long time of experimentation. It could take a long time of trying to figure it out. Oh, let me try this. Let me try that. Let me say this. Let me say that in order to keep people's attention. And honestly, it's what I'm going through right now. I mean, the people that come here, I have a small community right now. I'm just starting. I'm about 2 months into this, and I have a very small community. And I'm every week, every day, trying to wreck my brain, trying to figure out how to keep y'all's attention. And with me, I always say I'm educated, so I'm trying to keep y'all attention without, coming up here, throwing my hair on fire, starting, a whole little beef, maybe start beefing with other podcasters or beefing with other artists or DJs. I gotta figure it out. And a lot of times, we fail. Okay. We fail. And a lot of times we realize, okay, it's going to take a while for me to really, really, really get this going. And so that's why today's theme is, let me read it again. Strange things for a piece of change. Because for the most part, yeah, it's what we as entertainers have to do in order to, really keep you guys here with us and get our point out. Now it's nothing new. It's not like just only happened in the internet era. Nah. I mean, a lot of you guys probably don't remember the Michael Jackson moonwalk. Okay. Michael Jackson was a phenomenal performer as a kid. But at the end of the day, he struggled with how do I get people's attention? And even though he's got some phenomenal Off the Wall is probably one of the best albums ever created. It is a phenomenal record. It is one of those records that if you're a musician, you're going to study that album. Okay? If you like music, you're going to know that album. Okay? And at the end of the day, Michael Jackson felt like it just wasn't enough. So he had his viral moment. the Michael Jackson moonwalk on BET. So this whole concept, this whole notion, this whole mindset of I need to get people's attention is nothing new. Even before that, you had Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic. They, if you look at how they started, who they were when they got into music, when they were in the 50s, George Clinton in the 50s, he was a regular guy. He had one of those like slick back haircuts. I don't know what they call them, conks or whatever. He had a suit on. He was doo-wopping. Okay, but that was like in the 50s, in the early 60s. At some point in time, he just said, you know what? This doo-wopping, this whole little like being in the suit ain't working. And he changed his whole look, he changed his whole aesthetic to do what? To get attention. So doing strange things to get a piece of change is nothing new. And even in 90s hip hop, a lot of those kids, that's where I come in. A lot of those people, they were doing fashion, you know, adding hip hop and R&B together. If y'all may not remember, but R. Kelly had a whole series where he was talking about in the closet. That was in the 90s. This was before, the internet and before social media, way before social media. So controversy has been selling for a long time, and getting people's attention is nothing new. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't get people's attention, then nobody knows how talented you really are. Okay. Now, things did kind of speed up once we got to the internet and the social media age, because I mean, you could reach just so many people with your antics. One little antic could go viral. You can get millions of people to see what the craziness that you're causing, your commotion. And so, yes, it seems like it's more and more and more because we're talking about internet, we're talking about social media, we're talking about one viral moment could make you famous overnight. And now you got to make that decision. Am I going to do what it takes? And sometimes it can go really, really right. And sometimes it can go really, really wrong. I mean, right now, the person that probably is feeling the wrong part the most is Drake, because he made a decision. I'm going to just drop one song, first person shooter. I mean, can you imagine Drake? He probably made that song with J. Cole and thought, man, this is really, really cool. Big as a Super Bowl, right? I mean, they probably had no clue as to what was coming up next. But on the opposite side of it, you had, Kendrick, third verse on Like That. He says, F the big three, it's just big me. One sentence. One sentence. That sentence probably has had way more effect than when Kendrick came out with the control verse. If you don't know what the control verse is, please Google Kendrick's control verse. Okay. But that one little sentence of F the big three, it's just big me, probably had way more effect on Kendrick's life and will have way more effect on the future of his family than that whole, I don't know how many bars is the control verse, but no matter how many bars on there, it just took one bar to like pretty much affect the future of his family, moving probably to great grandkids. His great grandkids will be eating off that bar. And so now we have to ask ourselves, as we struggle with this, what are we willing to do? What strange things are we willing to do in order to get a piece of change? I mean, I have to ask myself the same question. What strange thing do I have to do in order to get this piece of change? And I will tell you this. I'll be totally honest with you, transparent. I'm a California real estate agent. I have my degree. So I always felt like I had options. The problem that I have right now, the problem that I'm coming up with now is the fact that um, I'm getting pretty good at this, right? I'm getting pretty good at what I'm doing. And it's like, man, is there a way to do it and I don't have to like go too far with it? Like, is there a way to do it and I can maintain my dignity? Is there a way to do it to do this where I could still seem intelligent? People know me as a good DJ, but I can go viral. And that's the question I'm asking myself. That's what I would like to know. That's why I named this week's, hot takes. I gave it the theme, strange things to make a piece of change. All right, y'all. Look, let's go ahead and get into the first story. We're not gonna. The one thing I have learned is that you can't stretch things out too long. This ain't a lecture, right? All right. For those who don't know, Joe Budden podcast has been going at it with the Native Land podcast. Now, let me recap it a little bit. Joe Budden podcast, first and foremost, is started off. I can't remember when he started it, but it's pretty much a hot takes podcast. Okay. I don't ever say, I want to educate myself. Let me go to the Joe Budden podcast. It's a show where they argue the hot takes and everybody gives their opinion. And I always say, I pretty much disagree with 90% of what they say on that podcast, but it's more entertaining than the NFL. Like, I don't watch the NFL because it's not that entertaining. But listening to the Joe Budden podcast is way more entertaining than looking at the NFL. So I am guilty. Yes, I am guilty of, hold on. I am guilty of there we go. I'm guilty of a typo. All right. So I am guilty of watching the show. Okay. A lot of people in my community don't listen to that podcast, don't watch that show. Okay. Because they're like, man, it's just not good information. And, every now and then you might get a little bit of like, oh, okay, but it's not good information. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's the Joe Budden podcast. But they are like the 6 biggest podcasts on the planet. Like, they are definitely in the top 10. Okay. Now, when I do want some information, when I want some critical information about just to kind of feed my brain, then I'm going to go to Native Land. Native Land has Angela Rye. Native Land has Tiffany. And Native Land has Andrew Gilliam. Now, I forgot Tiffany's name because I ain't going to even lie to you. I have a little bit of a crush on Tiffany but that's not the reason why I go there. I go there because I want to get information. Okay. I want to educate myself. And I have a couple of other podcasts or live streams that I go to. In Class with Cars, another one. In Class and Car, if I want to, get into my history bag, if I want to really like nerd out on especially Black history, I'm gonna go to In Class with Car, right? If I want to get a different perspective on things, I may listen to Karen Hunter. Okay. And so I have those different kind of podcasts. When it comes down to music, I like listening to Rob Markman and I like listening to Wayno. Okay. I used to listen to I ain't gonna lie, I used to listen to Math Hoffer, but I got away from that. We ain't gonna discuss that. But the point is that I have different podcasts that I go to for different reasons. Okay. And most of the good podcasts, they pretty much stay on point. They pretty much stay do what that's the one thing I'm learning is like once you know what you want to do, you got to stick with that. So Joe Budden podcast does not go into things on a very deep level. It's just a emotional reaction to whatever is going on in the moment. Okay. And it's just entertaining. It's like you remember when you was in high school and people used to have a fight and you don't know why you went to go see this fight, but you went to go see the fight and you knew it was wrong. Sometimes they be equal and you want to see who gets knocked out, and sometimes it be unequal and you want to see maybe the little guy can win, or you're going to see the big guy just punch the heck out of some little guy. But regardless, you watched it. It's kind of like, when you're driving down the freeway and you're late and you know you need to go, and all of a sudden there's a slowdown. There's a slowdown, and you all I don't know anybody outside of California, but in California, we have accidents, yes. But the worst thing is not the accidents because our highways and our freeways are pretty wide. So if somebody has an accident, you can get over to either side pretty quick. The worst part is the slowdown. Why? Because people just gotta see the accident. And you be mad and you be upset because you already know why people are watching it. And as soon as you get close to the accident, what do you end up doing? You end up watching the accident too. You do the same thing. Okay. And so once you know what your accident is and how you got your accident, man, you want to see the accident every time. Not one time, not two times, but every time. So the thing about Joe Budden and Native Land Podcast is that they have learned their accident and they do it very well. Well, this past week they collided. Two accidents in one. Um, what had happened is now Joe Budden podcast went out and got somebody named Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. Now, if you guys are wondering, like, where have I heard that name? Where have I heard that name? You've heard that name on CNN. You've heard that name on Fox. You've heard that name on Al Jazeera, right? Dr. PhD Lamont Hill is a very progressive Black intellectual, okay? Highly intelligent, highly decorated, like we think very highly of Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. But we also know that Dr. Mark Lamont Hill is going to be talking about certain issues that are on a higher intellectual plane. Well, when he joined the Joe Budden podcast, I even said, as someone who consumes the Joe Budden podcast, I was like, this ain't gonna work. I didn't see it happening. I'll be honest with you. I did not see it working at all. Right. And I was like, how is this gonna work? Now, and then I thought, here's what I thought. I was like, man, I really don't want to see the craziness of Joe Budden. And then Mark come in and slow the whole thing down with maybe one of his intellectual stories or takes that would just slow the whole roll down. Like when I go to Joe Budden, I want to laugh, be entertained, and I don't want to be slowed down by somebody trying to tell me, well, what you actually should think is. It's like, my dude, I understand that. I'm just as smart as you are, but I'm not here for that. So I was a little worried, to be honest. And at the same time, me growing up in the hood, I'm not saying that the hood is anti-intellectual. I'm just saying kids are very, very mean to each other. That's how I would say. And a lot of times when you're seen as the geek or the nerd, you are picked on, you are bullied. So all these things, all these dynamics came and clashed when Joe Budden and Dr. Mark Lamont Hill said, okay, we're going to collaborate. All these thoughts. And I'm pretty sure that everybody that knows Mark, that's in the academics area or academic community, was probably thinking, because a lot of us got bullied, okay, by so-called street dudes. A lot of us got called nerds and geeks, weird, what's wrong with you? Man, we don't want to hear that. And a lot of times, man, you just got homies that just ain't trying to hear all that. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of the people in the academic community was probably like, why is Mark even there? Right? Because I said the same thing. So Mark finally gets into it with one of the other people on the podcast, Flip. Now, if you look at Joe Budden podcast, Flip is probably the youngest guy on the crew. And a lot of times, because he is younger, number one, he doesn't know a lot of stuff, because I think he's super young. I think he's like 32 or so. He's in his 30s, and everybody else is like mid to late 40s. So he's the one that's kind of like asking the questions. He's the one that has the wild take that the older guys have to be like, yo, I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the show. I actually think that he kind of serves a purpose, because I always say being older is a blessing, and it behooves the younger people to take advantage of it. So I think Flip's role is ask all the stuff that young people want to ask older people, and then you might get laughed out, might get clowned, because we're black men. That's what black men do. They laugh at you, they clown you first, but eventually they're going to get around to giving you the answer, right? All right, so I feel like that's Flip's role. Well, Mark Lamont and Flip had a little argument. Well, not an argument, a very loud argument. And that went viral. Okay. It went viral. It went out. Because like I said earlier, it's the accident that happens. And Joe Budden has a lot of these accidents on his show. That's why he's one of the top podcasts in the world, not just with black people, but in the world. I mean, he's up there with Joe Rogan. Okay. And so, yes, that little fight between Flip and Mark Lamont Hill went viral. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Not right now, but go watch it. And once they had the fight, the question came out. The question was asked, is the black community anti-intellectual? Are parts of the black community anti-intellectual? And I would tell you, for the most part, because I know the characters, I didn't see it that way. But Native Land podcast went and I'll be honest with you, this was not fair at all. Okay. It was not fair at all, because, and I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna show you. Okay. Because they pretty much, and I can understand Joe Budden on this. Native Land. I gotta find it on the Google machine. Podcast. Right. And I'm gonna actually show you. And wow. Okay. I said, wow. Okay. So I'm gonna show it to you right now, because I want you to see what I seen. And I was like, okay, I could understand where Joe Budden came from. All right, here we go. It says, okay, well, no. Wait. Let me go backwards. Okay. Uh did they change it? I think they changed it. Hold on. Hold on. They changed it. Main pod. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, they changed it. Okay. So it said Joe Budden podcast, the dumbing down of America. Okay. That right there was probably the most disrespectful thing to be said. which was the Joe Budden podcast, The Dumbing Down of America. Like they didn't just say Black America, they said all of America. And so that right there sparked pretty much sparked the beef. And Joe Budden took offense to that. If you want to hear what Joe Budden had to say, you got to go listen to it. It's on the um it's on the latest podcast. Okay. I'm not gonna be totally giving everybody free publicity on my channel, but Joe Budden had a problem with it because he was like, yo, you know, first and foremost, America may be dumbing down, but you're making me the face of it, and you're making one of my friends. Like at the end of the day, Flip is Joe Budden's friend. You're making my friend the mascot for being dumbing down of America. Okay. And I did agree with that. Okay. I did agree with that. I'm like, y'all, it's kind of foul. I think they could have made their point. And I think that they understand now that you take one of the top 10 podcasts that was that is Black owned, and you're blaming the dumbing down of America on this podcast. If I was Joe Budden, I'd be pissed as well. Right. At the same time, Joe Budden podcast had a problem, and I think it's fair that Mark Lamont Hill famously got fired from CNN. Everybody saw it, everybody knew it. And he had been a free agent for like 3 years. Nobody hired him. And so Joe Budden was like, where are all you guys at when Mark Lamont Hill was out there unemployed? So he felt a little way. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole like, hey, let's discuss that, because I want to give a different perspective. I did kind of like, you know how I do. I did want to kind of go back and say this about the anti-intellectual debate. This has been going on since the 1800s. Okay. Famously in the Black community, W.B. Du Bois said that the Black community should be led by the talented 10th. And what he meant was the educated 10% of the Black community should lead the uneducated or the undereducated 90% of the Black community. And there's always been that tension between those who are either more educated, more light skinned, right? Leading the lesser educated or undereducated or non-educated, darker skinned Black people. It happened in Haiti. It happened in Liberia. So just historically, this has been going on in the Black community for a long time. Okay. I've always said, and this is my perspective on the issue, that as educated Black people, or just educated people, period, but I would say for myself, I'm Black, we gotta have to make a decision. Either we are going to totally separate ourselves from the rest of the community and might even call ourselves something totally different, right? A lot of us don't believe in race, so we probably wouldn't call ourselves Black, but you know, we're gonna have to call ourselves something to separate ourselves from those who consider themselves part of the Black community, right? Or we're gonna have to find inroads and be able to have constructive, non-disrespectful conversations so that we can work together. Understanding that there's a lot of people who, like on the Joe Budden podcast, I could literally call them, I wouldn't call them uneducated or undereducated. I would call them extreme capitalists. These guys are more concerned about how I'm gonna make my money than they are with culture, community. They may feel like they are uplifting the Black community, but I would push back to them and say, well, no, because the majority of the Black community, they either don't understand capitalism or they don't want to be involved with the whole process. They would not take that economic model of capitalism and use it as the economic model for the Black community. They just not. They actively reject it. Okay. I'm not saying that Black people are socialists or communists. I don't think that either. But you've only had two major economic systems: capitalism and Marxism. And from Marxism, you got socialism and communism. But you've had two people, Adam Smith, Karl Marx, who came up with two economic systems. And I think probably the Black community, if they had the choice, they would probably come up with a third, not adopting either one of those. Okay. And so, but back to my point, as people a part of the academic class, we're going to have to make up in our mind, either we're going to get with these people who don't see value in long-term education, or they just want to be an electrician. They just want to be a plumber. They're not trying to read books or write books about plumbing. They want to be very, very good at plumbing. Okay. We're going to have to get along with them, or we're going to have to separate ourselves. Martin Luther King talked about it. He said that it would not be to our advantage to separate ourselves. And I think in this period of time right now, we're seeing that it's not to our advantage. I don't see an advantage of separating ourselves, because if we're trying to get to a point where we're trying to totally separate ourselves, be away from everyone else, being around, the broader mainstream community has not worked for us at all. We just have fundamental cultural differences. And unfortunately, we're not like the Native Americans in this country where we have our own little reservations either. But then you have to ask, would we want to be a part of just a reservation? Would a large part of us want to be a part of we're separated on our own little reservation. Let us do what we do, and we're good with this. Probably there's a small fraction. I know probably there are some groups in our community that will be totally happy with that. But I just think out of 34 million Black peoples, I think probably maybe 10% would want to say, yeah, let's just be separated. But the rest of the 90%, they're not going to do it. Okay. Now, I will say this to finish off this particular subject. There was an apology-ish. The Joe Budden podcast said that Angela Rye contacted them. She's one of the people on the Native Land podcast. She's contacted them and apologized to them privately. And as we see, they took down the thumbnail. That was one of the issues that Joe Budden podcast had with the Native Land podcast. It's kind of like putting their name with the dumbing down of America. They didn't like that. So I'm glad they took down that thumbnail. Okay. I'm glad they took down that episode. Because it did look bad. And I don't think that if they were the type of, if Native Land, I'll end it by saying this, if Native Land podcast was the type of people that wanted beef, that wanted to if they were DJ Academics, right, who is highly educated. DJ Academics is very, very smart. Don't get it twisted. All right. He wants the beef. He wants the smoke. But if Angela Rye and Tiffany and the rest of the Native Land podcast, if they really wanted that kind of smoke, then they would have left it up. But I consume that podcast as well. They don't want that kind of smoke. So I'm glad that they took it down, because at the end of the day, it just would be more authentic with their brand to be who they are. Like I said, they know who they are, and they're going to be who they are, and they're going to stick with that. And I respect that. All right. I want to get into my sponsor. That's part of what we do now here is I will give you my sponsor. I will show you my sponsor. And you know who the sponsor is? Well, the sponsor is me. I am my own sponsor. DJ Mad Scientist merch. Okay. You can go to the madscientistmusic.com and go to the shopping page. And as you see, as I promised you, we have the the dad hat with the white logo on top. Okay. I've been promising people that we're going to do the dad hat, and it is finally here. So if you are if you like the logo like I like the logo, and the logo looks really, really good. I'm telling you, the logo looks really, really great. And there's the logo, and a lot of people like it. And I do have different colors. Okay. Um, I do have, different sizes. So you can get different sizes, different colors. This is my most popular item is the hoodie, but you can also get the dad hat, and that too comes in different colors. Like I have black, right? And that's what it looks like. What? I have red. I also have pink, have pink. So I try to make sure the colors are really, really cool. The quality of the material is great. So come on over here to the website, check it all out. I will tell you this, if you do get the hoodies, I've been telling everybody get one size. If you like your hoodies baggy, get one size too big. Because it's fitted. Even when you wash it, it still stays fitted. Okay. I haven't got the hat yet, but I'm waiting for my order for the hat to come in. I'll let you know how I feel about the hat. I ain't gonna sit here and cheat you guys. I try to give you guys really good quality. And once I realized that people actually um like the logo, once I felt like people like the logo, like people were telling me they like the logo, I wear it and people were like, "Oh, that's fire. I need one." In fact, I'm gonna be delivering a couple of I'm gonna be delivering a couple of hoodies to a couple of friends of mine. So I can get it cheaper. So my friends were like, "Oh, I want to get it." And I was like, "Okay, no, I got you. I got you. I'll go ahead and get it for you because I can get it way cheaper." But I'm not doing that for everybody, so don't even ask. But go ahead and check it out, and then let me know how you feel about it. I mean, send me a picture. You know what I'm saying? And so I can show people that people are actually getting the logo. Okay. Speaking of anti-blackness, well, apparently Tyler the Creator has some unearthed um t- uh what do they call it? I'm trying to say like X, but it's Twitter. Look at that. I'm starting to forget the name. The X is starting to like grow on me now. But some old tweets, Tyler the Creator. And now a lot of people, and I know that this says anti-blackness, but a lot of people said that he was anti-black. I just didn't I didn't agree with it. Let me just say that. I don't agree with it. I know it says Tyler the Creator anti-blackness, but I don't agree that Tyler the Creator is anti-black. If you listen to his music, which I don't listen to a lot of it, but if you do consume his music, Tyler the Creator loves himself. He likes who he is. Okay. And the things that he is that he likes, number one is being from California. Number two is being black. Number three, being gay. Now, I did say one, two, three, but that's not order. That's just more of I'm giving you a list, a bullet point of the things he likes. He likes being from the West Coast. He likes being black and he likes being gay. Okay. And so he's going to have, I don't think that he's anti black and I don't think that he's going to be anti gay, but he does have opinions and he really likes the fact that he has these opinions. Now, are all these opinions good opinions? That's needless. I mean that could be judged. I don't agree with his opinions. I don't think that my whole thing is I think more importantly he just has a lack of real education. Okay, I'm not calling him dumb. I'm saying that I went to school. I'm an African studies major. I went to college. There are certain skills you learn when you go to college. Okay, you learn how to write, you learn how to read differently than just reciting words. Like when you're in high school, they just okay, can you read this? Do you know these words? That's high school. When you get to college, you've got to read it and then understand it and then let it allow you to go into research so that you can start reading other people's opinion of what you read. It's a total different process when you go to college. Okay. And I'm not going to go into the whole process, but it's a total different process. Tyler, the creator, did not get that. It doesn't mean he's dumb. He's actually very smart, but he doesn't have that process where he's like doing the research, reading, researching, and then rewriting or reinterpreting. Okay. A lot of people like to say regurgitating. It's not regurgitating. What they ask you to do in college, they ask you to read, research, and then reinterpret, reimagine what you've read. And you got to have at least 3 sources. All right. He doesn't go through that. So a lot of times he's just spouting. Now, getting back into our major theme, which is doing strange things to make some change. When you are an artist and when you're starting out, you've got to get attention. I'm just starting out, just 2 months in. I've got a lot to say, and I feel like what I have to say is very well thought out, very well researched. It's a good perspective. I'm not a boring person. I be around people. I'm funny. Right? I'm really, really good at small talk. I can small talk, people like when I'm trying to, game. What's up, girl? How you doing? Right? I can be around a bunch of guys and make jokes. But I can tell you right now, being in these YouTube streets is hard. It's difficult to keep people's attention. And YouTube be like, yo, and they judge you hard from day one. They don't even give you no like grace period. They give you no time to kind of warm up and figure it out. It's just like YouTube just be like, yo, you what? You got one other option. You can, go ahead and swipe that card and I'll show it to other people. Okay. And you just got to hope that works. Okay. But other than that, on these YouTube streets is tough. And so when you're first starting to like make your art, you're first starting to rap, make your beats, make your music, you got to do something to get attention. And what a lot of guys do when they first start is they troll. The guy, old school roller, Lil Nas X, he was a troll. A lot of these people that you see right now that are famous, they started off as trolls, internet trolls. What's a troll? That's when you are like setting your hair on fire on a daily basis on other people's posts. And then you might go to one like if I went to TMZ onto their internet, onto their internet, onto their Instagram page, and I just set myself on fire on every post. Eventually, people are gonna be like, oh, that's Mad Scientist. He's setting his hair on fire, which I don't have any hair, but he's setting himself on fire again on TMZ. You're going to go to TMZ. A lot of people go to TMZ. And if I set myself on fire every day on TMZ, eventually I'm going to get seen. And that's what a lot of artists do. And then what they're hoping is that after they get your attention, you can then they can say, by the way, I could rap. By the way, I could sing. Okay. By the way, I could rap and sing. Okay. That's the hope. And I think for the most part, what Tyler Creator is, he's not anti-black. You know anything about Tyler, he loves himself, right? Yeah, I think if Tyler Creator could watch me blow myself up, I think if Tyler the Creator could have sex with himself successfully, and I mean like traditional, like missionary, he would. Okay, he would missionary have sex with himself if he could. But unfortunately, he can't. But that's just to say he really loves who he is. So the whole notion that he is anti-black, I don't know. I don't agree with it. But if you think he is, you want to argue with me, all right, put it in the comments. You can give me your opinion. I will respond. I will be like, yo, okay. Either I'll agree with you or I'll push back. It will be respectful. So you be respectful to me. I'll be respectful to you. All right, y'all. Let's get into the next one. What we got? Because we got like 15 more minutes. Now, this right here, AI, I'm gonna just tell you right now. Let me just start off by saying I'm a huge fan of the Boondocks. Yep, the Boondocks. Like, I watch the Boondocks. If I could watch the Boondocks back to back every day, I would watch the Boondocks back to back every day. And to be honest, right now I'm looking at Law and Order. I don't know why I got into it. It's like my childhood, right? My mom used to watch Law and Order. It's my childhood. So I was like, let me look at Law and Order. And I'm binge watching. I think they said it's 25 years. I'm on season 5. So anyway, I'm binge watching Law and Order. But after I finish binge watching Law and Order, I'm gonna go back to binge watch the Boondocks. Okay. Now, a lot of people in my community, in my intellectual community, they don't like Boondocks. They think it's crazy, it's garbage. They don't. Okay. I remember I tried to get my dad to just laugh at it. Come on, Dad. Like, can't you see the humor in it? And he was like, nope, it's buffoonery. Right? And I just could not get my dad to be into Boondocks. All right. Well, the new version of Boondocks is AI. I think it's Sono, one of them, Sono 2. And they got all of the I'm not gonna even I'm not gonna show it. I debated this whole thing. Either show it or don't show it, right? Show it or don't show it. I just made the decision at this moment. I'm not gonna show it, but you can go to TikTok and just type in MLK or for me it was MLK because that was the controversy, right? MLK AI, and they had Martin Luther King Jr. being as ratchet as you think he can be. Okay. And I ain't gonna even lie to you, or I ain't gonna East Coast hold you. It was hilarious. It was funny. I get that maybe we shouldn't use Martin Luther King, but they also have Malcolm X. They had a lot of Michael Jackson. I kind of feel like it's just on. It's sparked. Like that is the new viral thing. Like who famous can you get to act totally different? Or who famous can you get to act totally ratchet on AI? And I think people are gonna like create it. It's gonna be content to be created. It's kind of like memes. Remember, like everybody was anti-memes, but now like everyone uses memes now. I think you're gonna have situations where people are gonna want to convey a message, and you know how we used to say in this person's voice. Okay, well, it's good. That's gonna be the new way to say in this person's voice. Let me give you a message, right? And it's gonna be super funny. Like you want to like send somebody a message, and you got Martin Luther King telling them, like the message that you want to convey. Or you might have, obviously Donald Trump, he's done it to himself, right? But you're gonna have different celebrities send you a message, you know. I'm surprised Denzel Washington hasn't popped up. I mean, I just thought about that right now, and I'm thinking like maybe Denzel Washington is gonna pop up. Um, I mean, it's just gonna be a bunch of celebrities, whether they're dead or alive, that are going to be able to convey people messages. and it's just going to be hilarious. I mean, I mean, like, can you imagine if like Bob Marley tells you something, or like Margaret Thatcher? I know a lot of people, or I would say Queen Elizabeth. There you go. A lot of people don't know who Margaret Thatcher is, but Queen Elizabeth. Imagine if she's telling you something, right? And you're like, what? And I think it'll be a thing at some point. And I think it's going to be funny. I know a lot of people are going to go on the bandwagon of, well, that's disrespectful. Oh, well, what about the family? You know, listen, if somebody I have a very high, um, I think very highly of Dr. Martin Luther King. I read his book, Community of Chaos. I think he was probably a prophet. That's how I feel about Dr. Martin Luther King. He was more than just an intellectual. He was more than just a minister. He was a prophet, because pretty much that Community of Chaos was spot on. He was 100% right. But the AI stuff that's coming out is not making me change my mind. Now, if you don't like Dr. Martin Luther King, then you're not going to like him regardless. If you don't agree with him, you're not, AI is not going to make you agree with him or not agree with him, right? I do think that people are going to probably wonder, well, or they may fact check. Did he actually say this? And maybe AI will be the one to say, no, it's just comedy, stupid. Come on, fool. It's just comedy. He actually didn't say that. Or she didn't say that. Can you imagine if Golda Meir tells you something, or Mother Teresa, or any of the popes? The popes are coming. They're going to be telling, the popes are going to be coming out, right? I'm surprised that, as much as the black people have said that the current pope is the first black pope, that they haven't made the pope, that they haven't done it to the pope being black for real, right? Like, I kind of want to see if I gotta learn how to do this AI thing, just because I have all these ideas. Like, I would have the Pope being like super ghetto because he's from Chicago anyway. So, I mean, that just kind of goes with it, right? The Pope being from Chicago, South Side, he's from South Side Chicago. So it's not a stretch to say that he might, be into drill rap. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, what do you think? So, I don't know. That's just my perspective on AI and the AI and the and the famous people. I just think it's kind of cool to me, in my opinion. Okay. All right. Speaking of doing strange things to make change, let's go ahead and get into our last segment, which is just some clarification of some things. Hot mess entertainment news. All right. First and foremost, Saweetie and Ruby Rose have come out and said they are not, doing strange things to make peace of change. There have been allegations that they have been part of a ring of women who say, hey, I'm famous, I'm pretty, but it's going to cost you. Now, I don't know what you want to call that, but Saweetie and Ruby Rose have both come out and said, no, not them. They are just getting extorted. Well, in the fact of Saweetie, she's like, hey, this is somebody I considered a friend, and she's trying to get money off of me. And in fact, she's doing strange things to get change, and I'm about to sue her. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Next bit of news: Brandy and Monica. They had a little setback in the Chicago show. Brandy wasn't feeling too well, so let's put our prayers out for Brandy and Monica. It's not a beef. Not a beef. The reason I talked about it because a lot of people were thinking like they were beefing on tour. But no, they weren't beefing on tour. Actually, Brandy did have a problem with her mic, but more importantly, she just didn't feel well. And we kind of see Brandy as a 14-year-old still. Like, I kind of do see Brandy as a 14-year-old. But Brandy's actually an older woman. How old is Brandy? Let me find it out. Brandy age. Yeah, she's almost 50. She's same age. She's almost 50. So we gotta start seeing Brandy differently now. Like she's almost 50. What? She's 46 years old. So she's an auntie, So that's Auntie Brandy. That's not 14-year-old little girl Brandy. No, that's not LG Brandy. That's Auntie Brandy. Okay. So she wasn't feeling well. She wanted to sit down for a minute. You gotta let her sit down. Okay. Last thing is J Lo versus every man in the world. Now, I don't have too much to say about it because I'm not really a J Lo fan, like just not into her. But it's hot mess entertainment news, so we gotta talk about it. But apparently, she went on a podcast and said, and I'm not gonna even look up the name of the podcast because I'm tired of giving everybody props on my show. Like, go watch someone else. All right. But she was on a podcast saying that she hasn't found love because she hasn't been properly loved. Now, I'm not a fan of J-Lo, but it's like, first of all, let me tell you, I did my internship over at Sony, right? The actual Sony. I was actually working at 550 Music. That's some entertainment stuff. I was doing my internship and she came into the building and I saw her live. And this is like the late 90s. Okay. So, like, yes, you could fix yourself up, but not like you can now. Okay. I saw her in person. And when I say she she was one, well, at that time, she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in real life. Like, didn't know that women came in that kind of beauty. I did grow up, Compton, Los Angeles, and the girls in Compton, Los Angeles are very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. Extremely pretty. They didn't look like J-Lo. And no, for all my Africana studies, not because J-Lo is light skinned. It's not. It's just that, she was flawless. I couldn't even understand. And fellas, J-Lo's got body. Like, famously, J-Lo got body. No, for real. She's got body, bro. Like, now, body, seen that all the time, but not in somebody that light. Like, I never met Puerto Ricans before, so I don't really know how they looked, right? She got body, but it's just her face was just flawless and everything. She was beautiful. All right. That being said, yeah, her whole argument that she'd never been loved is very hard to believe because you've been loved by a lot of men. I'm gonna leave it at that because she's very powerful too. Not only is she beautiful, she's powerful. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just saying I'm gonna believe the man. Can I just leave it there? Okay, cool. All right, listen up. This is your boy DJ Mad Scientist, and yes, this was my midday madness hot topics. Okay. Please like and subscribe. Please. Like, I'm just learning that when you like my videos, that makes it important. That's kind of important for you to do. So please give me a like, okay? And then subscribe, okay? And then I'm here every Wednesday from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, okay? So if you're in New York, it's really 9 o'clock. If you're in Hawaii, it's really 3 o'clock, okay? But I'm here every week. I'm going to be consistent. Please share, let everybody know about it. And if you have any comments, feel free to leave comments. If you have any suggestions on how I can entertain you more, or if you're like, Mad Scientist, you good the way you are, keep doing, be yourself. Okay. You don't got to do strange things to make this change. I'd appreciate that too, as well. All right. That being said, I will see you guys Friday where I'm talking about music marketing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my, we're going to talk about my analytics. And I'm going to just tell you right now, it don't look pretty, but that's okay. I'm still going to open it up to you. That'll be Friday at 6 o'clock. Okay. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.